Okay, someone installed my hardwood way too tight and it started to buckle up. Is there a way I can fix this myself, or do they need to redo the whole floor again? Man, there is a loaded question.
Yeah.
You want to do it the hard way or the easy way? Let's do it the hard way. How do you know they installed it too tight?
Yeah.
Because it's buckling? That's not the answer. Most of the time, if a floor buckles, it's job site related. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear, but we have a rule here that we try to stay honest at least 95% of the time. Almost always when we see a floor buckle, certainly always with solid, it was because it's job site related. Could they have installed it too tight? Not really with solid. They could have, but an installer, if you hired a real installer, he's been here before. He's done this before. He knows he doesn't want to come back and fix it. If he installed it too tight, he's got to fix it. But most likely it's going to be moisture related. How do you tell, Jason?
Yeah, the only thing your installer could have done wrong is not check the moisture.
Right.
All our installers, wood installers, have moisture meters. First thing we do, they take it in the house, put it on the subfloor, and get a reading between it and the wood. If the subfloor's way too high, they get back in their truck and come back to the store.
And they get a day off that they didn't want. Okay,
Right.
They don't want to take that day off.
But they don't want to install your floor because if that moisture's too high, they know what it's going to do, and it ain't going to take long to do it.
Right. And here's a problem, because if you read the instructions in your box of wood, it probably says to acclimate it. And a lot of customers will stop right there. If you keep reading, it says make sure that the relative humidity is between 40% and 60%, the temperature is between here and here, moisture levels are here and here, and it has that over a period of days. And that's a little complicated. We don't acclimate wood ever. And that's a sore subject with some of our manufacturers, okay? Because they want us to follow their rules so they don't get in trouble. We want to do it the right way so that nobody gets in trouble, okay? If we go to your house, the installer goes to your house and he checks that moisture and the moisture's high, acclimating that wood only makes the wood wet. Now they're both wrong. Now we install the wood, we turn on the air conditioner, it sucks the moisture out, and we've got cracks between every board in the house. Now, we followed the manufacturer's rules, most of them, okay, but we had problems. So the secret is get the moisture down in the house. If you're doing your own install, you can buy a moisture meter for $40, okay? Now, we're talking about solid here.
Yeah.
Engineered is not really a big deal. Don't tell the manufacturers I said that, but it's really not. With a solid, we want a floor to be between 7 and 12, okay? 12% humidity or moisture.
And the wood to be within 3% of what the
Right.
subfloor is.
3%, definitely on a 3 or 5, you got to
Yeah.
be within 3%. With a 2 1/4, you might get by with 4%.
Yeah.
But it's so important that the moisture in the house be right, and then the wood be right too. So if the house is right and you check the wood, and it's possible for wood to be a little dry.
Yeah.
You know, I've carried wood in the house that's only 5%. Now we're not talking about one board, because a quarter sawn board is going to hold less water than a flat sawn board. So check a series of them. Just like when you're checking your subfloor, check it twice per room. Write them down. Don't be afraid to write those numbers down. How many times, Jason, have you checked a house and you saw that over next to a door was a wet spot?
Right.
Okay? That has to be addressed. Why was a door been left open? Is it leaking? That's got to be addressed, because if it's wet in one spot, it's going to cause you problems. Okay?
Because when it's wet in front of the door, it's just going to keep going across that wood floor when you put it down, and
Right.
it may not buckle at that
That's right.
door. It may buckle in the middle of your room.
Right.
Because it's going to find the weakest spot it can to buck up.
And a solid wood floor, it cups. It'll look like a washboard. Generally, they don't lay all the way back down. You might get some of them. Can you sand it back down? You do, but you have to wait 12 months for it to go through a heating and cooling cycle, and then it's frozen after that. So we get this problem occasionally, and there's a lot of hard feelings involved. My installer did this, my installer did that, when most of the time it's not the installer's fault. Now, I'm not saying installers never do it. If an installer doesn't know a moisture meter from an AM radio, don't hire him, okay? If he doesn't carry a moisture meter in, he needs to stop right there and go get one. All right, because chances are, if he's not professional enough to use a moisture meter, he's not professional enough to pay for that claim when it goes bad either, okay? So would you anything to add to that? Mm-hmm. Now, what if it's an LVP floor or a floating floor? Generally, those are the same way. There's some moisture been added. Look around. If a floating floor is buckling, it's hitting somewhere. Okay, we know that, right?
Yeah.
It has to be. It might be just one odd spot in the door jamb where a nail got laid down, a screw's laying there, or a chunk of wood fell in it. Anything can cause it. So, try to get a feel for where it is the peak the most. Go over there and pop a baseboard off and see. That's about all you can do. Is there a way to fix it? If it's a floating floor, yes, it can be fixed. You can pull off the last row, trim the board, put it back down, right?
Yeah, and you can do the same thing with solid. You have pop the trim off, and they do make saws you can cut down the walls with. And just because they're tight to the wall, though, they could have, if you got a moisture problem, they could have had a gap and it swelled up to the
That's
wall.
right.
We have
Right.
seen that happen.
Yeah, we had a claim on a laminate floor one time that the manufacturer denied, and they said, hey, you installed it too tight to the wall. Well, it just so happened they were exactly 10-inch boards. We measured like 200 inches, and it was a half a board off. It had grown 3 inches. Okay, lots of moisture in that application, and we went back to the manufacturer. Listen, there's no way we could leave an 1.5 inch expansion on this floor. They replaced it. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's some gray area there. That one was hard. Do we like to take a break for lunch after that question?